So, guys, Nancy Pelosi, we talked about this, right? There's a book being written on Nancy Pelosi, and it's by Susan Page, and it discussed on the last few shows, we discussed how Ilhan Omar and her developed a bond and a relationship, but it actually gets worse. So if you go to the roll call tweet, let's go there right now.
The roll call tweet.
The roll call tweets. That's the first part.
No, the roll call tweet, Oz.
The one you had before that. I think you had it early. Or
there it is.
In 2020 vote studies, House Democrats got their way on 168 of 176 party unity votes for a winning percentage of 95.5%, only topped in the 60-year history of CQ roll call study by 2019's 96.2%. Okay. So in 2020, we went down basically less than 1 percentage point, right? In 2019, we had the highest percentage. Before that, it's the highest percentage in all of 60 years. The percentage of what? The percentage of unity in the Democratic Party, right? And so they're boasting about that because Democrats have always been preaching unity. They want unity. They want this whole idea of all of us coming together against the fascist Republicans.
Wasn't that the whole objective of the squad, was to get rid of that whole bullshit to start a fire?
To expose it, yeah.
To expose and to say we're not going to let this leadership of unity.
But Nancy Pelosi gave them compliments, and that changed everything. So we're going to start right here. This is from the book by Susan Page on Nancy Pelosi.
Madam Speaker.
Pelosi professed to be unsurprised and unconcerned about a sit-in in her office that the newly elected congresswoman had joined. And when she looked over at the freshman class in a new Congress, she said, I also think, and who among you will be disruptors, because that is what our country needs. Soon after the 116th Congress convened, the cover of Rolling Stone showed Pelosi flanked by Ocasio-Cortez and Minnesota Representative Ilhan Omar, another new congresswoman who had already earned a reputation for sparking controversy. Everyone was smiling. Nancy Pelosi saw something of herself in AOC.
Oh, really?
Even when she was causing trouble, maybe especially then.
Ooh,
good troublemaker. That sounds
something?
like a slate that I know. The good troublemaker slate.
You beat me to it.
This is just.
It's just like a fad, though. Like, look at us. We're causing trouble. We're the trouble. We're exposing them, but then we're going to capitulate, bend at the knee, and let them do what they want, and not get one thing that the progressives were in there to fight for. Not Medicare for all, not minimum wage, not a jobs program, not a good infrastructure program that's going to be green, nothing but the Green New Deal, not any fracking. Nothing, but we're going to cause trouble. We're going to expose them.
It's good trouble, though, not bad trouble. Bad trouble, bad. Good trouble, good.
Let me also say this, too, as well, for the people who are still running as a Democrat because they think that they get it provides them a platform to push back against the other Democrats who are establishment friendly and stuff like that. No one cares outside the Democratic Party. So it doesn't make a sense for you to go in there and talk and be part of the Democratic Party because you're going to expose the establishment Democratic members, because most people are independent or conservative on the right that moved away. They don't give a shit about you holding them accountable, because at the end of the day, nobody ever gets in trouble for their bad deeds or their bad policies. Democrats are never held accountable. So you going in there, continuing to run, I'm going to expose them, and running as a Democrat provides me the platform to expose them. Nobody cares. You should be outside that party, getting the independents and the people who are fed up with the Democrats, because most people feel that the Democratic establishment are a bunch of liars. So get away from there and go out to the independents and do what you got to do. Because if we fix elections, you'll make noise. And if you lose, it doesn't make a difference, because sometimes when you lose, you win. If you stick by your principles of the people as an independent and say, I'm not going to play this corporate establishment game no more, people will love and respect you, and they'll listen to you and will follow you. You cannot work within a party that doesn't want to change and will never will change. And if you're like AOC and Jamila and all these other people from the squad, Pramila, whatever that's okay, you're just fooling yourself. You're being duped. And you need to stop with the sycophancy behavior, because it's not working. It hasn't worked. It never worked. It never will work.
Yeah, 1,000% pasta. That was a pasta rant.
Jesus.
And it's really irritating to see people still like 5 years ago. Like they're doing the same thing they did 5 years ago. Oh my God, if we just elect Nina Turner, if we just elect X person, it's going to change everything. She's really going to put up a fight. How the hell? Like, all I'm seeing is capitulation from all these people before they even get into office. What do you think? Once they get power, they're going to move to the left? No, guys, once people get power, every single time they move to the right. That is a fact. I'm basing it on past experience, on past actions that these people have taken. You cannot reform the mafia. You're trying to reform the mafia. I'd rather have the mob in power. This is like ridiculous. By the way, then Nancy Pelosi, of course, continues talking on the next slide that she was famous for having what veteran congressional reporter John Bresnahan of Politico dubbed an iron fist in a Gucci glove. Do you see this fucking shit? An iron fist
in a Gucci glove.
What does an iron fist allude to, by the way? Do you know?
You're gonna put your hand down.
Churchill. Churchill. They're alluding to fucking Churchill.
You know better than me.
And they're fucking putting him in a Gucci glove. So now you're getting all bougie with this whole like, ooh, it's typical neoliberal bullshit. Like, ooh, Gucci glove. Yeah, because really fucking 99% of poor people who can't pay their rent really give a shit about a Gucci glove metaphor about Pelosi.
I like with the last one. It says there's no better example of her dealings with the squad.
An iron fist, but a Gucci glove around it.
She put it down. She let the squad know what's what, fam.
She applied her lessons she had learned to win them over, or at least keep them at bay.
Ooh.
First, the Gucci glove. She didn't rebuke the protesters who staged a protest at her office. She hugged them, deeply inspired by the young activists and advocates leading the way on confronting climate change. She tweeted at noon that day. 18 minutes later, AOC retweeted that message and added a reply that adopted a similarly conciliatory tone. Thank you, Nancy Pelosi, she wrote. We have 10 years left to plan and implement a Green New Deal before cataclysmic climate disaster. And by the way, this is once again alluding to what I'm telling you about the Green New Deal. If Nancy Pelosi is just, boasting how it's the Green New whatever, and then AOC is all mad, and then they do the theatrics, and then all of a sudden AOC is like, thank you, Nancy, for listening to me. Do you think that AOC's Green New Deal and Markey's Green New Deal is going to be anything but backed by corporate interests? If Nancy Pelosi is just going to let it happen, are you fucking serious? Do you really think? And then it continues. By the end of the year, Pelosi had set a record for keeping her caucus together despite its ideological differences. The iron fist in the Gucci glove had managed to hold together a diverse group of politicians who ranged from the 31 members representing districts won by Trump to the 4 progressives in the squad who weren't afraid to be called Democratic Socialists. Here it is.
They're not.
Democratic. No, they are. They're Democratic Socialists because that's Democratic Socialists means is being a cuck Democrat.
Okay.
That's what it means. It's not a real fucking socialist. It's not a real leftist. It's definitely not an anti-imperialist, and it's definitely not a free speech advocate. It's a Democratic Socialist or a bunch of cucks that are basically Democrats that rebranded themselves with the rose Twitter emoji. That's basically all they are. And we're at war with them because they're fucking gaslighting you. And if they're calling themselves pridefully Democratic Socialists, that means it doesn't mean what you think it means. And there it is. Democrats accorded the highest level of party unity since the CQ roll call began tracking it in 1956. The average Democratic representatives voted with the party on 95% of the votes. That divided most Democrats from most Republicans. There was only a modest difference between Democrats and districts Trump won, 92.6% loyal, and 4 members of the squad, 97.5% loyal. I guarantee you that if I was there, the difference would be vastly larger. 2 weeks later, Ocasio-Cortez asked to meet with Pelosi. House colleagues called it an effort by the Congresswoman, just 7 months in her job, to sue for peace. Some of the squad had stewed that Pelosi was the one who should have asked for a meeting with them. It was a sign of her standing that she didn't. She wasn't the one who needed it. The 2 women sat down for 30 minutes, one-on-one in the speaker's office. Afterwards, neither disclosed what was said. Pelosi tweeted a photo of them standing in front of an American flag, both smiling. Today, Congresswoman Rep. AOC and I sat down to discuss working together to meet the needs of our districts and our country, fairness in our economy, and diversity in our country, she wrote. Later that day, reporters asked her about their exchange. I would never say there was a hatchet to bury, Pelosi replied. We just had a meeting to clear the air. Political translation. She would never say there was a hatchet to bury, and yes, they had buried it. A few days later, Ocasio-Cortez announced that Chakrabarti had decided to leave the office. If you guys recall, that was her guy. The chief of staff who had posted those inflammatory tweets moved to a progressive think tank, The New Consensus. So, okay. So this is what I want to point out. Progressives now, you know how we used to say, oh, if they take the money, they're corrupt. Progressives don't need money to be corrupt now. They could get it in other ways, in other ways that aren't public, one. Yeah. Two, they could also be bribed by what? Career opportunities. Oh, if you do this for me, you get this position, and then you get all this clout, because guess what? AOC isn't just a congresswoman. She's a social media personality. She is a celebrity now. She is in Vanity Fair, on Vogue, on all these magazines. She goes on RuPaul's Drag Race. She had an agent, for crying out loud.
You can get it for a good cheap speaking fee, fam.
And all of these things that happened, like regarding AOC, like, all of that, she is very profitable for the Democratic Party, because guess what? Any fundraising she does eventually goes to the DNC. So that's how it is. They're milking her for all she's worth, and she's allowing them to do this in exchange for climbing the upper echelons of the Democratic Party. So it's not surprising that progressives no longer need corporate money to be bribed. So that's not going to be enough anymore. You can't tell people, oh, I'm not going to take corporate money. Are you going to take corporate bribes? Are you going to sell out the people in order to climb up the political ladder? Because that's what's happening here. Here's Jayapal, by the way. Pasta mentioned it earlier. Narrative managing for Biden and the Dems. Jayapal, who was supposed to be the progressive in Washington State, here, Oz's state, and the one that I liked a while ago, until she started supporting the warmongering Adam Smith, who takes money from the defense industry, instead of Sarah Smith, who ran against him, and no relation, of course. But that's when I started being suspect. Then when she didn't fully push for healthcare for all, that's another sign. Here she is doing narrative management.
One of your fellow progressives in the House, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, says that he's exceeded her expectations and expectations for progressives. Do you agree?
I do. I think that this has been a really interesting time for us to see how the progressive movement at large, all the progressive voters, young voters, voters of color that came out and turned out for the president in November, helping us to win the White House, the Senate, and the House, and the pandemic and the way in which it has just really shined such a bright light on all the inequalities that have existed. I think President Biden has risen to the moment, and I really do give him an A in what he's done so far.
One of your fellow progressive.
So she gives him an A. An A! An A! Yeah. I give Biden like an F for failure. Like, how? He hasn't helped me. He hasn't helped Pasta. He hasn't helped the vast majority of working people in this country. How are you going to guess? Like, did he give you health care for all? No. Did he give you at minimum a $15 minimum wage? No. Did he give you the $2,000? No. Did he give you, what else did he promise? Oh, yeah. Student debt forgiveness up to $50,000? No. Nope. He didn't do anything. No. Oh, but he might pass some legislation about pre-K. That's due for. That's good. Those are crumbs. Stop accepting crumbs, because I hear people say, well, it's better than nothing. Yeah, well, it is better than nothing. But is that really what he said? No, it's not. These people have this ability. If you go to your job and you say you're going to work and you don't work and you don't produce results for whatever company, you get fired. Why the hell is it not the same with these people that are in charge of legislation, of laws, of rules, of just distributing money, in charge of this country, in charge of our military, in charge of everything, our foreign policy? Why don't they get fired when they fuck up? Because you get fired when you fuck up. Like, it's not fair. It's fucking ridiculous. And these people gaslighting, to me, are far more dangerous even than the neoliberals. Like, I expect it from a Joy Behar. I expected from these pundits. But Jayapal's supposed to be a progressive, right? Yeah. It shows you that this means nothing. It means nothing because they're part of the Democratic Party club establishment. And we have to look for the bigger issue here is they're all fucking PR agents. They're all fucking narrative managers. AOC, the entire squad, Jayapal, the 100 members of the progressive fucking do nothing caucus. They're all just there to make you feel like we're progressing and yay, we're moving along. This is the most just drastic presidential administration. Look, he's FDR. All this gaslighting. Like the reason I'm even wasting my time showing it to you is because there's still people out there who think Joe Biden is better than Trump.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's it. Like I wish there weren't, but there still are people that need to understand that this is all a fucking just theater. This is all theater. Maybe we recognize it because we've seen theater all our lives, but this is fucking theater. They're acting. They're performing for you, and you're buying this performance. It's not even good. Yeah. It's not even good.
Her signature piece of legislation, right? Medicare for all. You didn't even get the public option on it, but you're going to give them an A during the middle of a pandemic. Oz, is there any way we can recall this young lady over here? Because since we saw this a long time ago. It was always smoke and mirrors with Pramila. Is there any way we can get her recalled? I remember when she supported, we talked about it, Adam Smith over Sarah Smith. She supported a mechanism of the military-industrial complex, the guy who wrote the budget of the Pentagon, right? Okay, for Joe Biden's bloated Pentagon budget coming up. Is there any way we can get rid of her?
No, there's no way you can get rid of her. But what I'm doing, my strategy is to try her in the court of public opinion using the Washington State bully pulpit, and just by throwing out recall every chance I get in any meetings, any media that you guys are doing, that will put the thought in people's mind. Well, there's a problem because this person obviously isn't getting it done. So they're going to look into her more. I'm doing the same thing with Rick Larson and Kilmer and Del Benny and the rest of them. They are all owned by the military industrial complex and Microsoft. You know what Washington State's noted for? Microsoft. So exactly. That's where we're at. But anything you can do, and we try and do it logically without cussing our heads off and screaming, but people are dying. They're dying because of this damn no health care situation. So again, sorry to interrupt.
And she gaslit everybody. She showed everybody it was theater with her whole Medicare for all bill and whatnot, because she's not pushing for it. Now she's giving the guy who said he would veto it if it came to his desk an A. He didn't even give you the public option he promised. You know what I'm saying? And let me tell you something. We've said this before, and I've said this for a long time. These people are more dangerous than the conservatives that we disagree with, because they pretend that they're your friend and they show up with flowers and roses and candy. But while you're going to the bathroom, they're in there raiding your house and stealing your jewelry.
They put arsenic in your food while you're not looking.
These people are more dangerous, and we need to put these people on blast, because if anybody wants to ever pretend like they're a progressive again and pull this kind of crap that this congresswoman is pulling right there in your state, where we have one of the best politicians in Shama Swant, who's taking it to the mat.
And she's not a fucking Democrat.
Yeah.
She's not. This is what you don't understand. Like, I am never fucking supporting another Democrat in my life. I'm not supporting a Republican. I'm not supporting the duopoly at all, because they exist only to screw us both, to create the illusion that you have a choice. There is no choice. There is no choice. And once you accept that and you understand who's really behind the scenes manipulating and moving the chess pieces, then you understand, it's a really shitty situation. Yeah. But then at least we can find solutions, which obviously lie in the direct action, then in strikes. That's why things like the PRO Act piss me off, because if they actually wanted to empower workers, it would be through wildcat strikes, and they're not doing that. Those are illegal right now. They're illegal. They will fire your ass if you do that. How is that supporting workers? How is that building back this community of like putting the labor, the force at the helm? It's not going to come from corporate backed politicians, guys. It's just not going to come from them. We're going to have to fight for this in the streets. This is what it has to happen. What the Amazon workers are doing is great. We need more of that. 100,000 fold.
There should have been protest outside of AOC's office and Jayapal's office when they didn't fight for the minimum wage, and they're still sitting there trying to say, "Oh, it's the filibuster." No, was it the proletarian who stopped the whole $15 an hour or whatnot? Not the proletarian. There was a
parliamentarian.
The parliamentarian stopped the minimum wage, and they're actually letting that happen. They could have overrid that whatsoever. And if you really want to help labor, that would have been your first move. Get the minimum wage to $15 an hour, which is it's too low as is and stuff like that. But if you really wanted to fight for labor, you would have done that if you're serious about it.
And you would have created subsidies or some sort of brutal tax cuts for small businesses who would suffer from that, because they would. Because if you know anything about having a small business, you know that those small businesses don't have the same funds as a giant corporation like Amazon.
Yeah.
So that's why we have corporations controlling everything, because these idiots never pay attention to small businesses. They don't. They simply say, oh, we're going to do this and apply it across the board. Yeah. That's not how it works. Amazon should be paying far more than a small business owner should.
Yeah.
I've seen small businesses go down and under even before the pandemic because of high rent cost of the business location they are in, and because of the demand in California to pay a decent wage, which is good. But at the same time, where they're paying the same that a corporation is paying. Why is that? Why don't they get some sort of help? If you want small businesses to succeed, you're not doing the right thing. And this is something that Republicans always use against Democrats, because Democrats don't talk about this enough. And Bernie Sanders, one of the things I criticize he didn't talk about it enough. He started to talk about that, but he did it in the beginning. And that's one of the things that I think also has to come into play here. When you're talking about labor unions, you have to understand how those work. And it's not a Republican talking point to say, oh, we need to support small businesses in a way that we fucking give massive amounts of money to corporations.
Yeah.
And
whether it be Trump or Biden, the PPP loans and stuff like that, we know small businesses who didn't get it. They couldn't access it. You know what I'm saying? The corporations, the small corporations and like the hotel chains that were able to classify each Hilton in each location as a small business, not the big Hilton as a whole, were able to meet the qualifications to get those loans, and they soaked up those loans. And the small businesses that really need them didn't get them. Some did, but some did not. Right. And like Shake Shack got it. The Lakers got it. You know what I'm saying? All these companies sucked up these loans, and a lot of small businesses just fell at the wayside. So don't let them gaslight you, whether it be Donald Trump, whether it be Joe Biden. We're not helping out the small businesses. Everything we do, all these bills, the HEROES Act, the CARES Act, the Rescue Plan, it kicked up money to big corporations, and a lot of rich aristocrats got their hands on the funds. And the small people, what are we doing? We're suffering. We're being told, we gave you $1,400. Shut up, smile, and like it. And that's all we, and what do? We do that. We actually have people on the left going, oh my God, what a breath of fresh air it is.
People
Joe
liking Biden's tweets now, progressives who were supposed to be radicals went backwards and started like embracing, oh, we have a wonderful woman of color. She's half Indian and half Jamaican. Oh my God. Like literally people who said that they weren't about that shit are now regurgitating those points. I'm so done with that. I am so done with that. I'm going to be calling your ass out. I'm going to be screaming at you, calling you a cock, because you need to wake up now. I'm not trying to wake you up now by caressing your head and saying, hey, wake up. No, I'm banging a giant freaking pot in the kitchen right from the kitchen in front of your head until you wake the fuck up, because you're not waking up and the house is on fire.
Yeah. Well, when we go out to Washington, I'm going to go to Jayapal's office, and I'm going to make sure I try to get
Jayapal to Bezos.
I'm going to get Jayapal.
Microsoft.
Jayapal is one of the biggest hoodwinkers out there right now. She's duping people because everybody thinks that she's all about progressive policies and whatnot. But at the end of the day, she'll fold and you won't get anything. And that's disgusting. We need to fight back against that. I've said this from the get-go. These people are more dangerous than the actual conservatives that we disagree with, than the neocons that we disagree with, because at least they'll be honest about what they want.
I mean,
who they are. These people tell you one thing and they do something totally different, fam.
I'm not going to say that those aren't dangerous, because those people want to wage war.
Are more dangerous.
I think they're all, in my opinion, they're all under the same, they're working for the same team.
That's true.
They're all neocons. They're all trying to implement the Great Reset. They're all trying to push imperialism. They're all trying to push regime change. They're not giving the public anything. The difference is that these people are there to dupe you into thinking they're better. And these people are telling you right out, like, we're going to bomb countries. We're going to take over Venezuela. We're going to remove this guy. We're going to take their oil. Yeah, they're terrible, just equally as terrible. But these people are more mischievous because there's a sector of the left that believes that they can work within the system. And as long as the sector continues to do that and continues attacking those of us who say you need to move away from that, it's time for that is far gone. We're not going to put our way out of this. They're working in coalition with these neocons to push voices of dissent away. They're attacking all of us right now. Caitlin Johnstone even had to make a tweet about it. She was saying, look, just balk these people, because this is just intense now. They're going after everybody. Why do you think that's happening? Do you think that's just coincidence? It's not coincidence. There are people in power right now that that want to shut people down, to want to shut these ideas, these voices of dissent, because they're exposing them. We're exposing them. It is the great unmasking. All of the empire is crumbling, and they're trying to keep it going and keep the illusion, of it going.
It is a coincidence, fam. It's not a coincidence. Really. One side is wrong. The other one is insidious. So just keep that in mind.
It's a top-down battle right now.
It is terrible.